Hello, I'm Milo. Firstly, to catch our attention, positive features and negative impacts of using smartphones are mentioned. The mentioned about using smartphones can overcome the challenges in daily life. For example, organizing daily tasks, maintaining communication, and learning. So the first thing they told at the morning and the last thing they told at before sleeping is their smartphone. To the negative impacts, using smartphones causes dangers and inappropriate because people use as lessons or when they work, sometimes in the cinema. It also causes social, familial, and academic problems. Then, the writer simply discussed about the keywords about the topic of the journal article separately and the relationship about the keywords simply. Smartphone addiction. The level of the addiction of undergraduate students is 48%. It shows that it's a higher percentage for students who addict in using their smartphone. And the writer thought that it's a thought-provoking and significant, and it sparked academic interest. Smartphone addiction leads directly or indirectly to many different problems both inside and outside of the classroom. One of the problems is cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is the usage of smartphones for irrelevant activities in the classroom environment, and it leads to diminished academic success because they always use their smartphone in their classes and do not listen to their teachers. You may feel confused about how stress relates to the smartphone addiction. There was a research conducted and it was talking about how smartphone causes stress to the students. Smartphone causes young adults show signs of stress and depression that are associated in, and the stress level are worrying and alarming. And the experiment revealed that social support is one of the ways to reduce the stress. Research conducted on how to lower the stress levels, and one of the topics specifically described about reduced stress level is social support. And finally, in the introduction part, the writer mentioned the aim of research of the article. They want to find university students' perception of smartphone addiction, stress, cyberbullying, and their social support networks, and review them by a path analysis. Let's go to the part of the literature review of the smartphone addiction. In the literature review, firstly, writer mentioned about how literature review mentioned about addiction. Addiction is the different types. For example, they have drugs and gambling addiction, which causes medical, psychological, and social harm. After that, the writer narrows the topic. They mentioned the reasons of the smartphone addiction. Firstly, it's because rapid development of communication in information technologies. Secondly, more smartphone users and free applications can be downloaded. The number of people who are using smartphone is 1.75 billion from 2014 to the 2.4 billion in 2017. And from 2013, there are nearly 100 billion free applications has been downloaded. And in 2017, there are 4.5 million applications are available to access in App Store. This reveals that it is more convenient to use the smartphone and more applications can be used. Therefore, smartphone additions increase. As a result, 42.6% of young adults have nomophobia, which shows that they cannot live without using a smartphone. There are some literature review describe smartphone addiction as problematic mobile phone use or extreme mobile phone use, and it defined as an individual's excessive use of a smartphone and its negative effects on her or his life as a consequence of his or her inability to control this behavior. And finally, the writer mentioned the problems of overusing the smartphones, for example, sleeping disturbance, stress and depression, or mental health issues. And in the literature review of the cyberloafing, the writer separates into two situations. Firstly, at work. There are some literature review defined as the uses of the internet for purposes that are not related to work during working hours. It is also a kind of withdrawal behavior. However, the literature review said that there are positive effects. Firstly, it can escape from work stress and increasing creativity. Secondly, it allows the worker to take a break from the work environment and refocus on their work. At school, there are literature review defined as the use of the internet by students during lessons for activities that are not related to schoolwork. However, there are differences between cyberloafing at work and at school. Firstly, the surroundings and the atmosphere is different. The atmosphere in the working environment cannot represent the atmosphere of the school environment. And secondly, the regulations and the rights of school and office are different. At school, there are teachers monitored the students. However, in the office, although there are bosses monitor the employees still using their smartphone to do something which is not related to their work. Secondly, the regulations and the rights are different between schools and offices. In school, the teachers will have punishment to their students when their students do not pay attention in the lessons. However, in the office, although the bosses want to make punishments to their employees, however, it's not easy to do so. And there are negative effects from the literature review mentioned about cyberloafing. Firstly, students may not achieve their learning goals because they just use their phone in their lesson and doing something which is not benefits to their learning. Also, when the academic result of the students getting worse, students may not aware of the adverse effects. They just think that the knowledge are difficult and the exam paper is not suitable for them.
Hello, I'm Eno, and I'm going to share the relationship between stress and smartphone addiction. For the university students, their psychological stress levels is in a worrisome dimension, and this situation should be seriously addressed and reduce them. And the undergraduate students in all countries have a very high levels of stress. For stress, it adversely affects their mental health, and there is a close relationship between the university students' life stress and addiction to smartphones. The excessive telephone use can lead to very serious individual distress in the students, and there is the hypothesis between stress and smartphone addiction. Stress positively affects smartphone addiction. Now I'm going to introduce the method adopted in the test. First, I will introduce the participants. They are the students from public university in Ankara. It's 885 undergraduate students in different gender, class level, place of residence, and family income status. For cyberloafing and smartphones addiction, cyberloafing is a behavior and is disencouraged to class. It will also lead to lack of motivation and discipline problems. And cyberloafing is a behavior which is a problematic behavior. Cyberloafing and smartphone use, they are associated and will lead to sleep problems. Compulsive cyberloafing behavior is associated with addictive behavior. Addiction is a category of cyberloafing, and this is the hypothesis. Cyberloafing positively affects smartphone addictions. Now I'm going to introduce the smartphone addiction scale. It is used to measure young people's smartphone addiction, and it was adapted into Turkish in a study group covering 367 undergraduate students. It's one-factor scale, which contains 10 items, and was a 6-point Likert type. The Cronbach alpha internal consistency coefficient is 0.87, and the test-retest reliability coefficient was at 9.93. In the study sample, it contains 885 sample person, and it construct validity for this SAS was tested, and the one-factor structure of scale was verified. The low value 0.5 to 0.79 0.5 to 0.79. The one-factor structure of the scale revealed 42.2% of the total variance, and the internal consistency was found to be 0.885. Cyberloafing scale is 5-point Likert type, consists of a total of 30 items. In the study sample of sample size 885, the factor analysis results for the CS confirmed that the 5-factor structure of the original scale was verified, including sharing, shopping, real-time updating, accessing online content, gaming, or gambling. The principal extraction method was used for factor analysis. The Cronbach alpha coefficient is between 0.79 to 0.94. The low values are between 0.45 to 0.93. And the 5-factor structure can be explained at 62.1% of the total variance. And the Cronbach alpha coefficient show that it has a high level of reliability. For the part data collection and analysis, requests for participation in the survey were sent to undergraduates by email, and the data were collected from 885 students voluntarily participating in the from online questionnaires. On the first screen of survey, it includes the research permit and instructions, and it normally takes 15 minutes to complete a survey. To analyze the data, IBM SPSS Statistics 20 is used for descriptive statistics, and IBM SPSS AMOS 22 software was used for analyzing the path. Stress scale SS is used to test how stressful individuals perceive their lives to be. It's 5.2 factor, like a type scale with 10 items. It's adapted into Turkish too. The Kronberg alpha internal consistency coefficient of the scale is 0.82. The test-retest reliability coefficient is 0.88. By principal extraction, 2-factor 10-item structure for SS was confirmed. The low value range is between 0.54 and to 0.77. The Kronberg alpha coefficients were found to be high. Further perception of distress is 0.864. Perception of inadequacy is 0.769. Now I'm going to introduce Perceived Social Support Scale (PSSS), and the adaptation is adapted into Turkish, and the sample group is 150. It explains 75% of the total variance and consists of 12 items. There are 3 dimensions: family, friends, and life partner. Is 7-point Likert type scale. The Kronberg alpha internal consistency coefficient for all samples is 0.89. It shows that social support, loneliness, hopelessness, negative social relationship, and symptom checklist scales have significant correlations. In the sample of the study, it contains 885 samples. Is sufficient for factor analysis, and the 3-factor structure for PSSS are confronted by principal extraction, and 77.97% of the total variance was explained, and the low value of the items changed between 0.95 and 0.73. The Kronberg alpha coefficients is high. For family support is 0.897, friend support 0.932, partner support 0.962.
The definition of stress is a specific psychological condition that individuals experience in their lives. It can also be defined as a reaction to these threatening environmental factors. There are two types of stress. The first one is eustress and distress. And also, the article had stated that stress and mental health issues often happen on smartphone addict users by three literatures. The first one has shown that there is a positive relationship between smartphone addiction and stress. The second one shows that there's if inappropriate and excessive use of the technology, it will lead to impairment or distress. And the last one is misuse of technology leads to psychological and mental health problems. Then I'll explain how social support helps people. Social support, there are different types of social support like family support, support of friends, and support of partner. The way it could help individuals to overcome illnesses and continue to live a healthy life. Individuals received social support are often healthier than those who do not have any social support, conducted by Uchino's methodology. There's also a relationship between social support and stress. Because the relationship between social support and stress are negative, the individual experiencing various events in the presence of social support is less distressed by those by those individuals who had no social support by the literature. How social support relieves stress? It could help individuals to understand the situation, then to eliminate it as soon as possible. It is recommended that the issue should be solved as soon as possible in order for stress to successfully relieved. And the conclusion in here is that life stress are as an individual decreases as the amount of social support offered increases. How smartphone addiction relates to social support? There are positive relationship between stress and smartphone addiction, while there is negative relationship between stress and social support. So we can conclude that there is negative relationship between social support and smartphone addiction by these two statements.
I'm student 188026 Yukai Ken. Now let us move on to the sixth literature review, which is about social support and cyberloafing. Internet encourage social support accessible for all times. As the internet, which also include the social media, the amount of social media use would be essential and is an important role in cyberloafing. While it is also be found that it is related to the perception of social support. In another study, social support and cyberloafing were also associated through entertainment, while the entertainment might include socializing on the internet like WhatsApp or using Instagram, or also searching for entertainment and information, or even playing different games like computer games or mobile games, would allow people to associate themselves with other users of the mobile phone or computer. Therefore, the smartphone also plays an important role in the above usage of new media. While the user can interact with themselves, and they can also even have different interaction or socializing chance with other user, they will have better social support for them. Therefore, a hypothesis was made that social support will positively affect cyberloafing. On the next literature review, which is the sixth literature, is about stress and cyberloafing. For a variety of reasons, people need to reduce their stress to maintain their good mood and mental health, while the internet, including mobile computer, tablet, is used for stress reduction, including entertainment, just like what I've said, or relationship maintenance, or social recognition, or even information for stress reduction, just like searching it in Google. Browsing internet would allow the user to reduce their own stress for different variety of ways. Also, cyberloafing has a supporting role in solving practical and personal issues and problems, as cyberloafing represents students will use their mobile phones or different electronic device throughout the lesson or in class. It can reduce their stress and enhance their mood through the class, as they can reduce the stress from teacher or learning. Therefore, another hypothesis was made that stress will positively affect cyberloafing.
Let's talk about the findings in the experiment. Firstly, the findings are quite complicated, so I will make it simple. The hypothesized path between the perception of social support and stress are not significant. The perception of social support and cyberloafing is significant. The effect of stress on cyberloafing is significant, but only a small percentage can be explained, 3%, and there are a lot of data in the article as well. So in conclusion, there are other variables which are not in the scale, which are not social support, stress, something like that. And the effect of stress on smartphone addiction was significant. Cyberloafing has the highest effect on smartphone addiction. The indirect effect of stress on smartphone addiction was low, which is different from the previous one because it is an indirect effect. Also, the indirect effect of social support on smartphone addictions were even lower than stress on smartphone addictions. The two variables explained 19% of smartphone addiction. The participants, another page is about the descriptive findings of the findings. Participants often suffers more than from stress more than cyberloafing and smartphone addiction. The perception of social support was moderate. One-way analysis of variance showed that the class level, familial income, and place of residence had no significant effect on the findings. And it also discovered that women were found to have significantly high levels of smartphone addiction, perceived stress, and perceived social support than men by the numbers. And there was no significant difference in the level of cyberloafing.
Now let us move on to the part of the result and discussions. Well, before talking about the result, let us first recap a bit of the aim of our study. As the smartphone has played as an important role in technology, especially for interactive usage, including even from shopping to citizenship or socializing to health. or even other general aspects. Therefore, problematic smartphone usage may cause negative psychological, social effects on the learning process of students, especially when the smartphone are so much important and impactful for different people. For example, students may lose their interest or attention or motivation or even self-control with the problematic smartphone usage. Therefore, the study is to examine the relationship between smartphone addiction, stress, cyberloafing, and the social support. In addition, the relationship between these variables and some other factors were also examined, which has already been introduced in the above part. Then let us move on to the result of the finding. We can see that the class level and familial income and the place of residence has an insignificant effect on smartphone addiction, cyberloafing, perceived stress, or social support. However, the divorced families has found which have been more impactful for the issues about stress and social support. For example, there are significant differences in stress and the perception of social support of individuals who have grown up either with only one parent or without either parents. Also, the socio-economical level do not have significant impact on the issue about stress and social support. While being healthy, feeling safe and secure would decrease the level of stress. And on the other hand, the familial income and class levels won't have significant impact to the smartphone addiction, while the class levels will enhance the level of cyberloafing, and while the place of residence, especially featuring the college, university form dormitories, will have a serious impact for smartphone addictions, while the students who live in college dormitories will have serious smartphone addiction rather than other place of residence. While focusing on the gender, we can see that the gender won't affect cyberloafing in the current study. However, in other studies, just like featuring the Kwon and Peg 2016, we can see that gender also won't have significant impact towards the smartphone addiction. But some studies will show that girls or females will have more serious stress and high risk of developing smartphone addiction, which is different from the current study or some of the study. There are even some studies that show that male students will have a serious cyberloafing, and while the female will have a higher chance of smartphone addiction and perceived stress and social support. As a result of a past analysis, we can see that the social support won't affect stress at all, while different from the results of other studies in the literature, which is direct and inverse relationship between social support and stress. Our path analysis has shown the specific results. Social support is used to eliminate the stressful situation experienced by the individual. It is stated that social support is required as early as possible in the case of stress, and it will affect the individual positivity by reducing stress. Therefore, monitoring and evaluate university students with high levels of stress would be beneficial, which may contribute positively to the development and learning of students, which is also one of the main reasons why we are having such research or the results that the research want to show. While under the path analysis, impact of stress is also analyzed, and while the stress will have positive effect on smartphone addiction, which is the same with other research, as the addiction emerge as a way of coping with stress, while the smartphone addiction will provide efficient or sufficient time for students or people to have a more relaxing time or moment with their phones, their stress will then be reduced. Therefore, the academic status, interpersonal communication, family, and the emotional stress levels of university students affect smartphone addiction positively. While with the stress also have a positive relationship with cyberloafing, as the cyberloafing is a way of reducing stress. Just like what I've just said, the student in class will have great stress towards their teacher or the learning. However, if they are having a chance to use smartphone, or which is also the phenomenon of cyberloafing, they can be more relaxing and have a chance to reduce their stress in class. Therefore, it is a way of reducing stress, and to reduce smartphone addiction, stressful factors in campus life must be minimized, and students should be supported in order to reduce stress. On the other hand, the impact of cyberloafing will have a positive relationship between smartphone addiction and cyberloafing. Also, the smartphone and cyberloafing has a negative on learning process on the other way. But the uninteresting and poorly planned classes, problems with campus life, or other problems would be a cause of cyberloafing according to result. And now, in conclusion, the difference between genders in terms of perceived social support, stress, and smartphone addiction was shown. However, the cyberloafing was generally insignificant under the impact of genders. While smartphone addiction, stress levels, and perceived social support were higher among female students, gender is an important variable that need to be considered in studies and practices related to smartphone addiction, which is one of the most important results and finding in this research. And there are a few suggestions that the demographic variables indicate that smartphone addiction, cyberloafing, and stress should be tested in different samples and with different measurement tools. And intercultural comparisons and comparisons with different measurement tools may be useful in understanding what effects these have. It would also be beneficial to consider the individual characteristics of those studies, as there are pretty much of our result has shown an insignificant relationship. I believe that such suggestion would allow the researchers to have a more effective study. Also, while the cyberloafing and stress will have impact towards the smartphone addiction, and the social support will also have, which is also having impact to cyberloafing, but with lower effectiveness, they explain. Moreover, the explanatory rate of the proposed model for smartphone addiction was found to be 19. Therefore, under these conditions, new variables could be added to the model in a similar way in order to assess the unexplained parts, while also included the insignificant parts. It was found that social support did not have an effect on stress and had a low effect on cyberloafing. Differences in the findings in the literature may be due to differences in cultural influences and attitudes, and to differences in the tools used to measure these variables. And lastly, while the social support don't have any significant impact to stress, but it will still have a low impact on cyberloafing, differences in the findings in the literature may be due to differences in cultural influences and attitudes, and to differences in the tools used to measure these variables. And this is the end of the part of the research. Thank you.